In this lesson, we'll double check our system for pressure loss and also add some insulation. So let's begin. Okay, so now that my system's in place, there's a few things I can do. Before we finish it off by adding insulation, let's make sure everything is set. I want to check for my connections. I want to make sure everything's connected right. I don't want to have any open ends. And I want to also see if there's any pressure loss in my system. And if not, then we can actually move forward and wrap this up with some insulation. So to do so, we can kind of scroll out here. And I'm going to highlight my whole system here. And under the Analyze tab, you'll see Check Systems here. And we could check a number of systems, and we're only considered with checking our duct systems. So when you check this, you'll click it, and you'll see here in my graphic down below, if there are any issues, Revit will display some exclamation marks, and by clicking on those, it'll give us a dialog and it'll tell us exactly what the issue is. But when we check this, and if there's no exclamation marks and no warning window, that means our system is in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and check the system out real quick. So I'm going to click Check System, and perfect, no exclamations, nothing came up, so we're actually in good shape. So this is actually the point now where we can come in here and before we wrap this up with some insulation, let's also check our pressure loss. So we can create a report for that. I can come in here to my Reports button, and all the way to the right here, you'll see, or almost all the way to the right, you'll see Duct Pressure Loss Report. And if I click on that, what will happen is Revit will generate a report for me. So I'm going to click that, and we'll get this window here, and it'll be for my ground floor system. I'll click OK, and we can already we can adjust the fields we want in our report here. I'm going to go with what we have here in our default. So I want to know things about the flow, the size, velocity, pressure, friction, things of that nature. If we wanted to, we can add other parameters to that, but I'm happy with this one. So I can click Generate, and now what will happen is you can save this. It'll create an HTML file, but you can save it to anywhere. In our case here, I'm just going to simply save it to my desktop, and I'll call this one a test report. And I'll click Save. And you should now be able to access that report on your desktop here. I'll bring this into my window here so you can get a really good idea of how this works. So you see what's in this report. We've got a duct pressure loss report. It tells us all about our project here. It lets us know all the different components we have, the flow, the velocity, everything that's going on in each one of those components. So this is a really good report to have before you put the finishing touches on your system. This will actually save you a lot of time. The worst thing to do is have a system that doesn't operate at its optimal potential, and you wrap it up in insulation and you get these outrageous electric bills, or you're wasting energy. So this will really help in finishing up what's going on in your duct system. So I'm going to X out of this here. So now that I'm happy with my layout, I'm happy with my system seems good, and I've generated a nice report, I can now finish off my system by adding insulation, and it's very easy to do in Revit here. So I'm going to go back to Systems here, and I'm going to click on any one of the elements that I want to wrap in insulation. So what I want to do is I want to wrap my main as well as my branches in insulation. So let's start with the main here. So I can click on any element there, and all I have to do is add duct insulation. So I'll add insulation, and I can specify the thickness of my duct, and I can also say, duct wrap or rigid fiber board. So we're going to wrap our duct, and I'm pretty happy with this 1 inch, but we can add however large the thickness we want, we can adjust there. So we'll go with the 1 inch, and you can see insulation's been placed. So we can go around to each one of these and keep the process going. So I'll add insulation to this one. I'll add insulation to this piece. And we could do the same thing for our branches. So we'll just insulation. Perfect. We'll finish this off here. Got a couple more to do. So you can see how easy this is. And let's say, for instance, maybe I wanted to increase the size on this duct. I don't have to go with 1. I can go with maybe 3 inches. Give me a much better R value. You see how thick that's represented there. So we're not stuck with that 1 inch. We actually have options. So keep the 3 inch going around on this side just for example purposes. So now that I have my system set, my system checked, my reports filled out, and my system insulated, we are now ready to try another approach, but we're going to do this in the attic. We're going to take a top-down approach for our next system, and we'll jump into that one in our next lesson.